you deserve space is something that I definitely think this isn't something I struggled with, but this was my mentality from the start. But I can see sometimes young girls who start, they feel shy to go and spar the boys or do this or do that. But if you're showing up every day and you're training just as hard or even harder than the other people there, then just because you're a girl and there's all men in there doesn't mean you don't deserve space. You deserve just as much space as anyone who's working as hard as you.
Welcome to Chok Muay Chats. I'm Joe Comerford, commentator, content creator, and Muay Thai analyst here in Thailand. I'm sitting here with a very special guest today, a WBC world title contender, an international WBC Muay Thai champion, Katie Mitchell from Australia. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, how are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent on a Sunday morning. I've just had my 2 shots of coffee, so I'm ready, firing and ready for the questions. Katie Mitchell, big fan of your style. I've been watching your fights for a couple of years now, and big fan of your forward pressure, your endurance, your durability. Very, very, very tough young woman in the world of Muay Thai. And obviously, we have a lot of mutual friends. We're from the same city, sort of growing up and fighting on the same circuits as well. So for people who might be discovering you for the first time, who is Katie Mitchell today as a fighter?
Today, I am the 61 kilo Muay Ying and WBC International Champion from Sitution Muay Thai. That's now just relocated to Kogarah in New South Wales. I've had 35 fights or something like that, a mix of between pro and amateur. I used to always, when I was first starting, when people would, I'd ask people their record and they didn't know, I used to always be like, they like think that they're just saying that, but you actually do start to forget when you get in the high numbers. It's around 35.
I think it's something to do with the CTE as well between all of us.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't think of that point.
I think there's a connection between the brain damage and the the lack of mathematics there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much the same, so I can empathize with that. But 35 fights, that's a lot of experience. It's when we think about Muay Thai, that's a very active career. So how long have you been fighting for?
Again, the CTE is hitting. I had my first fight in 2016.
Okay, yeah, okay. So about 9-10 years around that, but still a
Yeah.
fairly active career. 35 fights over 10 years is fairly active. Now, going from that, a lot of us start Muay Thai as a hobby and we get passionate about it. Do you remember the specific moment that it turned from just a hobby to what it is now for you?
The idea of it was
Mm.
honestly the day I walked through my first fight gym doors. Like I was 14 and my dad took me to my first ever fight gym. Just because I was like a psychopath of a teenage girl. So and I grew up in Penrith, so you got to be a bit tougher there. So he took me to my first fight gym and I remember like walking in there and seeing people train and just like instantly just thinking it was the like most amazing thing that I've ever seen in my life. Like, and then like from there going down all like the YouTube rabbit holes, watching different fighters. And yeah, the second I did it, I was like, wow, I want to do this. And even from my very first fight, like I wanted to be a professional fighter.
Mm.
So, so I don't really feel like there was necessarily like oh, I'm amateur, I'm going to do this. I always wanted to work my way up there.
Yeah, it's interesting that because some people are different. They say sort of the second fight mark is when people sort of have the breakthrough. The first fight is just getting your feet wet, and then the second fight seems to be the make or break for most people. Whether they want to continue with it and that sort of thing. And I think it's really nice to hear that from the get go, you find that fire, and you've got that sort of almost born with it.
Yeah.
Now you've competed pretty much around Australia, and you've competed against some of the best competition. Um, what do you think pushes you to fight at this level?
I'm very much more now that I got to the top level, which is probably would have been more relevant now that I'm at the top level. But
Mm,
look at I don't look at the girls that I'm fighting. Like I don't particularly care. Like when
mm,
I started as an amateur, I just was like always wanted to look on their Instagram or blah 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 and try and see their fights. And it's funny now as a pro, I don't really care to that as much. Like I don't care who I'm fighting. If Aram goes, okay, you're fighting on this date, cool. Like that's it. I don't look at anyone in this like big light of, oh my God, I'm fighting this person or anything like that. I just want to fight, and I've had moments throughout my career, like I've said before, um I instantly wanted to be a professional fighter and from the get-go, but I have had moments throughout my career where I've gone, no, fuck this. Like
mm, mm, mm,
where I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. And I've had like sometimes I've had fight camps back to back where I'm like, nah, I'm retiring after this, and then I end up fighting again.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I just where I am at this stage is like I don't care who it is or what it is. I just want to get in the ring and I want to fight. And like coming up to this fight in particular, the WBC world title, I said at 14 years old I wanted to be a world champion.
Mm.
So like, yeah.
What do you think it is about fighting that you love so much? Getting in there every time,
The truth.
the truth.
It's yeah. I think you can fake a lot of things through life, but when you are out in that ring, that's where the truth comes out. You can't hide anything. You can't, it'll show you exactly who you are.
Mm.
That's what I love. I love being in deep waters and seeing who I am. Yeah, because your mind can play lots of tricks on you about who you are. But there's nothing quite like fighting to see who it really is.
Yeah, it's something I talk a fair bit about my content. Especially with the kind of popularity of Muay Thai growing at the moment. So we're getting a lot of kind of fakers and pretenders, uh,
Mm.
especially trying to monetize off the sport, not in the most healthy way. And then I often say, it'll all come out in the ring. Instead of saying it'll all come out in the wash, it does. You get exposed in the ring if you're selling snake oil and then you go have a fight and you get bashed. Then it says it more than itself. So yeah, 100%. It exposes the truth, whether it's the best or for the worst. Now, what what initially got you into Muay Thai? I mean, I know you said that you stepped into a fight gym around 14. Your dad took you. Growing up in Western Sydney. Just for context, for a lot of people, Western Sydney is a lot of people live around the coast, and then when you start to push out to west, it gets a little bit rough out there. Especially Penrith. It's a little bit you know, fairly like socioeconomically a little bit of a rough area. So what what was the initial drive for you to go as a kid to a fight gym?
Well, yeah, so to start with, it was my old man took me to the
Mm,
first gym and I was just instantly like in love with it and wanted to go all the time. And they had like a beginners like
mhm,
um kickboxing slash Muay Thai class, like beginners class that I would do with my dad. And I remember the coach at that gym one time walked past and I would hit pads at like 100% power, like channeling all my teenage girl angst at these pads. And I remember one time like the coach walking past and being like to my dad, man, you gotta let her fight. And but then that gym ended up shutting down and then my dad kind of stopped going. And he like at this time it was me and my brother were going.
mhm,
Um so my brother would have been like 10 or 11. And so then that gym shut down and then I didn't do anything for a while and then I went back to like another gym that was close and I
mhm,
just so was like I want to fight, like watching the fight, like watching the people fight and like I said watching the videos on YouTube But I also felt like I never asked my coach to fight, because I felt
Mm.
like in my head, in my 15 at this time head, it was like I should train hard enough that my coach says to me, "Do you want to fight?" So I never went up to him and was like, "Oh, I want to fight," or anything like that. I just kept training until it was in a position where they were like, "Do you want to fight?" I was like, "Yes." So it kind of like each their own, but it hits me a bit funny when people just straight off the bat without training hard are like, "Oh, I want to fight." So,
Mm.
but I would like at this point, so my dad stopped going. I was just going to this fight gym by myself. I'd finish school and I would walk like from my house to this fight gym. It was like a 30-minute walk to go and be able to train. And I'd go every day, and I'd be in arguments with my parents about like they'd be like, "We've got this thing on." I'm like, "No, I have to go train." No.
Well, I mean, that's it's funny you say that. That's what separates, world champions from just fighters. That kind of mentality of the sacrifice of, putting training first. And, I think a lot of people don't appreciate the sacrifice that goes into to fighting, but not only that, for world title contendership, all the missed parties, all the missed dinners, outings. It really is. You give up a lot for this sport, but it also gives back so much as well that a lot of people don't realize. I think you might be able to resonate with this a little bit. People from the outside judge us and will say, "Oh, you're too obsessed. You're too obsessed with the sport." But they don't understand this is what separates the champions from your mid-tier fighters. Just going into the WBC journey a little bit. So you won the WBC International Title, no small thing. What is that? Well, what did that belt mean to you at the time? It was fairly recent, on 1774, where you captured that. And what does that mean?
I feel like to give it a bit more, because I feel like there's a bit more to the back of it. But before
Mm,
that, the fight the year before in October, when I fought in the eight woman,
hmm.
when we I won the WBC Muay Ying, because that was my first WBC title
Right.
to win. And I feel like that kind of, before that eight woman, I was like in that limbo, and I was moving out of Penrith to move to the east,
Mm,
and I was in a limbo of probably a bit of a depression and not sure if I wanted to keep doing it. And
mm,
then the eight woman came up, and I was like, okay, like obviously the opportunity for this, I'm going to do it. And I think I really needed that challenge at the time of fighting like 3 times in one night. It was something different to what I've done. Like I'd had almost 30 fights by then, so I'd done the same for a lot. So a new challenge, I think, kind of sparked a lot in me, and then obviously prize money helps.
mm,
But then winning that WBC title, which was like WBC is it's the one everyone wants, you know?
mm.
So finally getting that green and gold belt that I'd thought about for like so many years was such a like re-sparked that, oh, I can do this. And then when the opportunity came up for the international title and then to fight against Germany, coming off of having fought Zoe, I was so set in, I'm not getting out of that ring without that belt.
Mm.
And then like winning that really solidified to me. It's like, okay, the world, like the 61 kilo world title is next. I've got this. The next step is that world title.
Yep. Yeah.
And I feel happy that I took that stepping stone to that. It's like, okay, you've got, like, I like the pathway. If you've earned this, now you're ready for this.
Yeah. Just going back to the eight woman. You know, I remember that time, and it's funny you're talking about that sort of little transitionary period, and going through um mental health issues and that sort of stuff. But it's almost as if it's destiny, or God works in wondrous ways in the fact that He puts that opportunity into your lap, and then you fight for that, puts your name in the hat for international title contendership. You get that, and now it's the process. I mean, you do a lot yourself, but it's almost like you've been handed the tools to be able to get to this point. I think that's an amazing thing when you look at the story arc, because you've pulled yourself out of that really tough period. fought on an 8-woman tournament, won that, gone to the international title, and now you're sitting at like the mountain's peak about to climb into it. Now, how does getting to this point now for fighting for the world title feel different to any other point in your career?
It almost feels like it's not a chapter close for me,
Mm,
but it feels like it does close part of, like, obviously it's not the chapter close of my Muay Thai career, but it does feel like part of a chapter close to me.
mm,
And I feel like um having, like, this has been the dream from when I was 14 years old when I first walked into that gym, and like I remember watching the YouTube videos of people like Kaylee Reese doing like promo videos talking about her fighting for that world title and just thinking she was the coolest person I'd ever seen in my whole life, to now being in this position at the end feels like it's a wow, how hard did I work from 14 to 26 to get to this stage?
mm.
Like it feels like a chapter close, and that just feels like this absolute driving force for me. And I kind of, like, mental notes in my head have been like, finish what you started, finish what you started. Um, and yeah, I just I can't even put it into words, but and every day when I'm training, that's just like the reminder that I have to myself.
Does it feel like it's happened in like the blink of an eye? Like it feels like from the time you're 14 to now, it's just like, oh shit, like that's happened so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I see like old photos and I'm like, that feels like another life, but it feels like it went so quick as well. And I I laugh now in the gym. Like sometimes I'll like be talking to the boys in the gym and they'll say that they're like 19 or something.
Mm.
And it feels weird now because I remember always, I feel like I was always the baby in the gym. I was always the one that people would be like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, 18. And everyone would be like, oh, you're so young. And now I feel like I'm going towards the other way. And now I feel like I'm not the youngest person in the
Yeah,
gym anymore. And I'm like, when the fuck did that happen?
yeah, I know. I feel the same. I'm sort of just nearly about to cry thinking about how old I am now. But yeah, so it's funny how life gets like that. It just, especially as we start to move into our 30s a little bit. It just happens in the blink of an eye. Now, just looking at you're training over at Sitution with my crazy canary friend Irem. Shout out to Irem Diaz, phenomenal coach, phenomenal man of Muay Thai. Now, how's what's it like working under him?
Um, so like I said, before I moved, I felt like I was in this kind of depression and
Mm,
didn't know if I wanted to keep doing it. And the energy that Aram creates, I feel like really helped bring back my passion to life. He's
mm,
he's actually just such a cool person. Like I remember the first time I went in there to talk to him about training with him. He's in there, he's playing some Spanish gangster rap music. His pit bulls are running around with 5 kilo with 5 kilo dumbbells in their jaws, and he's just so relaxed. And I was like, okay, this is the environment. And then like the energy at the gym is just so like it's a grind, but I really enjoy it. Um,
yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. I did a trip back to Sydney a couple of years ago and did some did some media stuff for 1774, and it'd been a long time since I trained with Irem. We used to train at FA group with each other back in about 2016, 2017, and got in a little session with him, and it's really kind of classic Thai style, just long, grueling,
Hmm.
really just hard, like basic but effective Muay Thai training. And obviously, he's got all the Thai trainers there as well. You guys have got a really strong team. I would say some of the hardest fighters on the East Coast. So I can appreciate the grueling nature of Sichuan training, but also the chaotic vibes of Irem's
Iram
world that
Julio Diaz.
surrounds him. Um, So
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is like that. It's that long, constant grind, but then there's also like the fine tuning of so many different things as well,
mm,
like, and I think you can see big developments in people that have come to him newly, like myself. You can see the development in me as a fighter since moving to Irem, and the same as Kywee Jones, who's
yep.
moved to train with him, and maybe even more so. Like Kai looks like a completely different fighter. Like is incredible, and his fight on 1774 is going to be incredible too. And he's fighting someone that he's fought previously before, so
Mm.
that's going to be a cracker as well.
What do you think has improved since making the switch over to Sitution in terms of like your game?
I feel like I've like in specifics, like I feel like I've loosened up a lot. Like
Hmm.
I feel like the way I'm moving is a lot more, and that comes down to probably more so even Aram's style of getting me to move. Like at the start when I came, we were doing lots of ladder drills and stuff like that,
Hmm.
lots of footwork drills to move around, and I feel like that's freed up a lot for me because I feel like before looking at some of my fights, I'm a bit stuck in the mud.
Mm.
Um, I think that's definitely been a big game changer for me, and I can see that when I watch my fights.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And one thing is what like you're coming up to title contendership for a world title. What's something that people don't see, like in the daily grind? A lot of people just sort of. I think there's this big thing of people see the success, but they don't see the daily grind that you go through to get to where you are. What's something that people don't see?
I feel like my average day in my life is up at stupid crack o'clock in the morning,
Mm,
train, go to my office job for like 7 to 8 hours, come home, get dressed, go back to the gym for multiple hours, come back in the door at 9:30, eat, go to bed, and start again. And the fact that I'm a really shit girlfriend because I have this much energy for anything. Like when you've been like when you're in that state of the grind, and I've been getting, and then I go to the gym at nighttime and I'm literally
mm,
getting attacked at night. I actually need to re-regulate my nervous system, and I don't have it in me to have any conversations or be nice or anything. I'm just pretty much mute. My family are always like, "When are you coming out to come see us?" And I just don't have the energy for that. When I'm in these fight camp spaces, and that's just like that's part of the sacrifice as well. It's not just, oh, I go and I train at nighttime. I'm like, I go out my house in the dark, I come back in the dark, I go to sleep. Like and then like when you come to your Sundays for your day off, it's like that's when you catch up on your life, do your washing, clean your house, um, do your meal prep, and then it's like, oh look, the day's done. So
I
and we do it all again.
don't worry. I can totally. It mirrors my life, except the training part. Um, I'm too old and my knees are too rickety to be kicking the bag anymore. But just looking at mindset, and I think this is something that a lot of people want to take away is understanding the mind of a champion. And I know we're getting through the topics fairly quickly, and we're racing. And I do thank you for your time, but mindset is one of these really interesting parts of a fighter and also a champion. Because you can have all the skill set, you can have all the training, the drills, but it's up here is what makes or breaks people. We can talk about heart, but really it's about what's inside the head, and a lot of us have got screaming voices inside our head, and we have to tame those. Now, fighting at the highest level, and especially as a woman, because this is what a lot of people don't realize, fighting at the highest level as a woman is not easy because the opportunities aren't the same for men. There's a huge gap between the talent. So often as a woman, you're fighting as you're climbing the ranks, you're fighting women who are a lot better than you because of the lack of talent pool. And especially during the weight divisions, you're having to fight people who are a lot better than you when you're coming up through the ranks. So what are some challenges that don't get talked about in terms of fighting at the highest level as a woman?
Well, yeah, like you said, definitely the opportunities is a massive one. Like after this fight, it very much even more so narrows the
Mm,
pool. Like when you become the world champion, the amount of contenders to be able to fight then becomes a lot smaller. Um then so even like Zoe, like I was pretty much the only girl in Australia that she'd be able to fight.
mm,
So then for her to fight, it's always going to be international opponents, and then it's getting people to fly her international opponents. And I was essentially the only girl in Oz that was at that level to give her a test.
mm,
Like it's definitely, it's just the pool of people is not as common, and I can see that like lots of gyms are taking initiative, doing women's classes and trying to get people there. But I think the best way to get women to come into the sport is just by leading by example, by because I think there is a big correlation in the fact that um women aren't as prone to do aggressive sports as men, just like in our biology, so you
mm.
can't actually change that. Like I've done a lot of PTing with girls who actually even have had like bad experiences with violence, so they just don't want to do that. They don't want
Yeah.
to spar, and they're happy for the rest of their life not to spar, and that's okay.
Mm.
But I think it's just by like, if you go out and you represent yourself to the best of the ability, like me. So I was watching those videos of Kaylee Reese. Maybe if I didn't see those, I wouldn't have thought that this was as much of an opportunity as what it is.
Mm.
So that's why I also think it's really good to put out a lot of content so that we can show the younger girls and other girls that are out there that there are women out here doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you make a really good point is, pushing the narrative that women can do this and it's fine. And it's also fine not to fight. You don't have to fight. Like
100%.
like that's one thing, I talk about is and I spoke to Pinky about this yesterday is, that Muay Thai is for everyone. You don't have to be a fighter. It's, you can just enjoy the sport by practicing it, but also on the outside, you don't even have to train. You can just enjoy the sport for what it is. Now, looking at one of the aspects of being a fighter, right? We all get nervous before fights, and especially that moment. I know when I used to fight, it was as soon as the Thai oil came on and I started wrapping my hands, I started to shit bricks. Do you ever get those moments of being nervous, and do you handle self doubt at all? Because I know for me, in my experience, I used to get a lot of self doubt. There were times where I fought some really good Thai guys, and moments before I was like, oh, do I really want to do this anymore? How do you handle those moments if you do?
I think my most like, oh damn, we're really doing this moment is, it's
Mm,
actually a bit of a weird one, but it's when I get in the ring and my feet hit the canvas,
mm,
and I feel like the canvas feels different when it's a fighting canvas and you're about to
mm,
fight, and it's like cold and wet, and it's like I was like, oh, I'm in here now.
mm,
But that's definitely mine. Like people say, like I've heard people say that's when they're getting their hand wraps and stuff. But the second my feet hit the canvas, I'm like, all right, we're doing this now. But in general, like nerves and self-doubt, like I think um whoever you are, you're a liar if you say you don't ever get any self-doubt.
mm,
Um, but it's, I think just I'm dramatic, so I can have a moment where I'm like, fuck this, I fucking like yesterday I was carrying on to my partner. I was like, I fucking suck so bad.
mm,
And he's like, shut up. But I'll have moments like that. But I know that I'm just being dramatic and feeling through this emotion in the sport.
mm,
And I know that like in the preparation for something, like I'll have one day that's really good. And then now I've done this for so many years. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm probably gonna have 3 shit days now where I feel like shit. And I
yeah,
saw this thing once talking about like the rule of threes, and
mm,
it's like you should feel good a third of the time, okay a third of the time, and shit a third of the time. And if
mm,
something in that cycle is off, then something in your training is off. And I really
mm,
like, I heard
okay.
that before I started as a pro, and I really think that is right because one, you're human, you're not a robot. So you can't perform to being perfect every single day. So I just understand the balance of it now. So when I have those days where I'm like, you train like shit and you sucked and this person bashed you and they shouldn't have bashed you, like I just know that okay, well, a good day's coming. So I get through it like that.
Yeah, it's one of those. tricky things to navigate for a lot of fighters, and I think a lot of fighters could do with having a sports psychologist. I know I would have been a completely different athlete if I had a sports psychologist with me. I think it's worth for a lot of younger people to get. Now, do you feel like Muay Thai has changed who you are outside of the ring? I mean, you've been fighting for nearly 10 years now. Do you feel it's had a lot to do with who you are outside of the ring?
I feel like it's very hard to tell when, like, obviously I've done it since I was 14. I
Mm,
don't actually like necessarily remember myself
mm,
without it, but I know it's given me like a lot of core values that I have.
mm,
The way that I always push hard and give my best in things is totally rooted from Muay Thai. The way, like, it's given me confidence as well,
mm,
like that, just in myself. And I think that's part of that. When you've been in deep waters, you, like I said, you show who you are. So it just gives me an internal confidence that I know I can get through things, because if you can drag yourself through a fight camp and then get into a ring and fight someone, you can drag yourself through pretty much anything. But yeah, it's very hard um to imagine a life without it.
I love that, like the building of resilience, being able to face sort of anything that comes your way, and I think it's a really good kind of value to take away from a sport like Muay Thai. Now, I won't take up too much of your time because I know that you've got things to do. I've got two more questions for you. What advice would you give any young females or any young women watching your journey?
Um, I actually said this to someone not that long ago, but uh, you deserve space
Hmm.
is something that I definitely think. This isn't something I struggled with, but this was my mentality from the start. But I can see sometimes young girls who start, they feel shy to go and spar the boys or do this or do that. But this is earned though. If you're showing up every day and you're training just as hard or even harder than the other people there, then just because you're a girl and there's all men in there doesn't mean you don't deserve space. You deserve just as much space as anyone who's working as hard as you.
Mm,
So go up to people and touch their glove, and you should spar them, and you deserve to be there if you're putting in the work. That's 100%. Just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you don't deserve to get pads more often, or you don't deserve to spar all these different people.
mm.
We work just as hard as anyone else, and you deserve to be there.
Yeah, and I think also that comes on to the responsibility of men as well, realizing that we're all into this. Oh, sorry. We're all in this together as well, like we all want the sport to grow, and by doing that we have to support women in our space as well. We're in a world now where it is equal opportunity, and we all have a responsibility to uphold that, especially in the gym. And I find a lot of guys will sort of come away and say, "Oh, I don't want to spar, I don't want to spar the ladies hard." Well, okay, all right. There's no lie that men possess a lot more power, but it doesn't mean that you can't work on things like control and timing and helping support female fighters with that as well. So, I think
What
that's
what
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 100%. And I feel like then to get women to come up to this level, to give them
Mm,
better training partners as well. Like, I know that I am a lot, like, gyms that I've been at, a lot of the guys' favorite sparring partners.
mm,
I do have on my side that I am a bigger girl.
mm,
But my experience equivalates to a lot of the boys being slightly bigger than me and less
mm,
experienced. And I get to give them really good rounds because they've got not the threat of getting like accidentally hit a lot harder as they would as other guys, and they get to really still have solid hard spars but at a high level of technique as well. And if you just avoid the girls, you never, like, it's growing each other up.
mm,
If this girl
mm,
gets better, then you're going to get better sparring. That's not going to happen if you're avoiding them. And I get like a lot of the guys who are like entry level pros, and even the higher pros are the ones who intentionally come up out of their way to touch my glove to spar when they're prepping for a fight, because they want to do rounds with me.
mm,
But that wouldn't have happened if people had just ignored me.
Mm.
You know,
Absolutely.
and you can get really good high quality sparring again with less chance of getting injured with girls.
Mm. Absolutely. I agree with all of that because the only way to grow to the sport is by pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and especially if you're a guy and you're not comfortable, especially young guys, like in their 20s who might not be comfortable about doing that. The only way you get better is by pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and vice versa as well. Um,
One of the boys in the gym the other day actually said to me that I had completely changed his perspective on women fighting, and that was such like a little like yes moment. But yeah, he said to me, he's like, oh, I just thought like it was a bit hard for girls, and he's like, but you completely changed my perspective of that. And that's the same thing of representation. If you show up,
mm,
then that's leading the charge for women.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, just one more question to wrap this up, because I don't want to take any more of your time up. If someone watches Katie Mitchell's fights for the first time, what do you hope they feel?
Oh, I hope they feel inspired by the determination. I hope they feel inspired by the constant pressure and relentless force of not giving up. And there's been no greater thing than recently, since being a pro, of having people come up to me and tell me that they love my fights or they felt inspired by me. That's up there with getting your hand raised. You know, like my last fight when I fought the international title, getting out of the ring, I had lots of like little kids coming up to me asking me to get photos, and I can't even put into words what that feels like. And almost you get a bit of imposter syndrome when some people are like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy about this," and I'm like, "It's just plain old me." But yeah, I just hope that I inspire people that to chase their dreams and to push through hard things, because you can always do it.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I
Yep.
love that sentiment as well, just being able to get people to push to achieve their dreams. Now, Katie Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. Guys, if you want to check out her upcoming WBC world title fight, it will be on the 21st of February against Naomi Ridley from Bad Company Gym, one of the premier gyms in the UK. Also coming up in the near future, check it out. It will be Before the Bell, the digital face-off between Katie Mitchell and Naomi Ridley. We'll have to work out on the timing on that one because of
Yeah,
the
we've got three time zones.
the three different time zones. But I'll tell you what, we make it work. We make it work. So, guys, look out for that. That'll be coming out in, I suppose, the next couple of weeks. We'll try and tee it up between both women. That'll be a fantastic piece of content, and also getting both women to speak on their experiences and also talking more about what the world title means to them, game plans, all that sort of stuff. I'm not expecting much shit talk because it's just not a thing in Muay Thai. I've done a few of these digital face-offs, and it's really hard to get any sort of highlight material out of Muay Thai athletes. It might be a little bit different for boxing, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best with fight camp and coming up, in the upcoming weeks. I think it'll be, what's it, about 4 weeks? Probably
4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, about 4 weeks till the world title. And thank you so much for your time. This is Chok Muay Chats. You can check it out on YouTube, Spotify. Please like, share, subscribe. It really helps out the podcast and helping support the athletes and getting their stories out there. And thank you very much.